did stand up, and I had never seen that before. And I remember thinking, how crazy is it that this guy can just talk? And it's so funny. I was falling out of my chair laughing, and I was looking around. I remember looking around while the movie was playing at all these people in their chairs, just rocking back and forth and laughing so hard.
Yeah, it's really something to see.
Amazing.
I saw
especially when you're a young teenager.
Like 16. I know you shouldn't talk about Bill Cosby, but I saw him live. And like
I saw him live too when I was a security guard.
Oh yeah?
I saw him live. Yeah, I was a security guard at Great Woods. I saw Kinnison there when I was a security guard. I saw Rodney Dangerfield there. Yeah, I saw quite a few people there.
Yeah, well, it was something to see him sit on his stool with his cigar and get the whole audience like literally hysterical. I mean, the guy in front of me was rocking back and forth so hard he could hardly breathe. His wife kept elbowing him to get him to kind of, turn back into something vaguely resembling a human being. But it's really amazing to see someone with that much command of the audience and so consistently, unbelievably funny.
He's the most tragic story in all of show business.
Man, it's a catastrophe.
Next to Michael Jackson and O.J. Simpson. I mean, those are the three most tragic stories in show business in my mind.
Yeah.
And he's a monster. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
And brilliant comedian is a monster.
What the hell? The thing that's so strange about Cosby, you'd think, well, like, was this really necessary? Like, man, the guy was famous in 15 different directions and really well respected. You wouldn't have think he would have had to date, rape his women. It's just...
Well, yeah, I mean, he could have just had prostitutes. I mean, if he really just needed sex, I don't think that's what it was. No. I think there was a sick perversion, and I think he liked to do that to people. He liked to trick them. I mean, I'm just guessing, right?
Well, it has to be something like that because it's so counterproductive and so
psychotic. It's psychotic. I mean, I don't understand it. I've tried to sort of imagine what it must have been like to be around in the 50s and the 60s. I think people did that to each other way more often than we'd like to admit. And I think that it was more casual than we would think of today, where people would slip someone a Mickey or, he even had a bit that he did way back in the day about giving someone Spanish fly, that you'd give someone something that would make them horny.
Right.
I think he was probably a guy that had an incredibly inflated opinion of himself, didn't want anybody to ever reject him, experienced that a few times. Again, this is pure speculation, and just decided that he was better than people, that he could just drug them.
It's so strange, though, because his comedy was basically so, like, it was generally family-oriented. It was, and he put himself forward as a role model, and he was credible. Like, he was credible as an actor, as a role model, and he seemed credible as a spokesperson. Kind of makes me think, there's this idea that the psychoanalysts had. There's a guy named Erich Neumann who was a student of Carl Jung's, and one of the things that Neumann said, he wrote a book called Depth Psychology and the New Ethic right after World War II, and it's a great book, a little thin book, but it's a great book. And one of the things he says in that book is, don't be better than you are. And what he meant was, he didn't mean don't improve, like, because that would be foolish. He meant beware of adopting a persona that makes you a far better person than you actually are, because all of that part of you that you're not admitting to, that's going to go off and have its own life because you're not integrating it, you're suppressing it in some way, and you're not, and so it's a living thing, that, well, like the aggression you had when you were a fighter, that's a big, deep part of you, You can't just push something like that aside and pretend that it's not there and think that it's not going to go off and have some fun when you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
So, to me, like, something like that must have got him, is that he was split between this really good guy that he was trying to be, which was like too good, and this like more monstrous side of his personality that he obviously never integrated or perhaps never even admitted to. It's really a hell of a story, man. It's like, and it really is a catastrophe. I think it was an absolute bloody catastrophe for his victims, obviously, but just as a general cultural phenomenon, it's so awful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And they say you should separate the man from the art. But in his case, it's almost impossible to do because his art was his perception of life. So like when you're watching him, it's not like a painter or even someone who makes a movie. It's like when you're watching him now, and all you can think of as he's talking about these different things and about, I told my children, well, he's doing this lovable dad voice and doing all this stuff. All you can think of is that guy rapes people. He drugs them and rapes them.
Right. Yeah.
I can't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah.
And he's unquestionably, as far as like his skill, he was one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah. All right. So you got a manager, and you got a good one. And what happened?
Yeah. I moved to New York, and then once I moved to New York, I started doing a ton of stand-up comedy. I was traveling all over the place, and I got better and better, and I kept working on it, and just doing a lot of gigs and just going all over the place. And then a few years later,
how old were you by the time you were like paying your bills? Because that was your first marker for success.
Probably like 26, 25, 26 was when it all started coming together.
Oh yeah, so that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
I mean, I wasn't making a lot of money. I was making enough money to eat and pay my rent. And then somewhere around then, I did a thing called the MTV Half Hour Comedy Hour. That was it was a television show they had on MTV, and each comedian, I mean, I don't know how much time I did on the show. I think you do like 7 to 10 minutes or something like that. It wasn't a lot of time. And I had a set, and I did it on television. It went really well. And then next thing you know, I got all these offers to do television shows. I got development deal offers. And then before you know it, I'm living in California. It was like that. I mean, within a year, I was living in California, and I was on a sitcom. And then that sitcom got canceled. And I thought I was going to move back to New York. It was called Hardball. It was a baseball show on Fox. It was a sitcom about a baseball team. That show got canceled. And then I got a development deal with NBC. I was going to move back to New York, but I had signed a lease for my apartment. I hated LA. I hated actors. I didn't like it. It was so disingenuous. The worlds that I had come from were the worlds of stand-up comedy, which is about as real as you can get. Either you're funny or you're not. And then the world of fighting, which was even more real than that. And then all of a sudden I was around all these people that were just full of shit and weird. And it was they were put on these personas, and they wanted the casting agents to like them and the producers to like them. And everything was fake, and everybody knew it was fake, but they all accepted it, and they talked fake, and it was very, very strange, very hard for me to deal with. I really didn't like actors. I didn't like being, and the only place that I sought refuge.
It's a funny